Well, welcome everyone. This is Greg Boller here from Multihull Solutions, welcoming you all to today's webinar. We're just going to take a minute or two and just hold fire for a moment while we're waiting for people to join today's viewing, which is a walkthrough of the brand new Elba 45. We're fortunate enough to have my colleague Michael Nod Crook on board the Elba 45. We'll be crossing over to him shortly. You can probably see him there in the video box waiting for us on the back of the boat. But just before we cross there, I'd just like to run through a few things. Firstly, today's webinar is going to be conducted in a way where we won't be talking questions, but you will be able to pass on your questions through the Q&A box. So if you open up the Q&A box at any time, you can type a question, and we'll be looking at those questions as we go through the presentation, and we'll be pausing at certain stages through the walkthrough to answer questions. So that way we can make sure any questions specific to the area of the boat that Nod is concentrating on, we can ask those questions while he's there. So you don't have to wait till the end to get the answers. If you ask the questions, we'll then find spots through the presentation to ask Nod those questions and get answers. The other thing, just while we're waiting for everyone to join, is we also just want to mention that this webinar series, our first one was last Friday, and thank you for everyone that's given such positive feedback. We were very happy that people enjoyed it, and one of the most amazing things was that the number of people viewing the walkthrough was maintained all the way to the end. So we must have done something reasonably well because people stayed engaged. Next week, we've got a ripper. It's John Hembrow from the Down Under Cruises Rally is going to be joining us to give a presentation on offshore cruising. John is a very good presenter, and that's going to be a really valuable webinar. Then after that, the week after, we're going to do some brokerage focus. We're going to do a walkthrough on the 29th of May of a Lagoon 421 that is available for sale in our brokerage stable. And then one that I'm looking forward to is the week after that will be the presentation with Michael and Marita Lysart, who are in Turkey waiting patiently to pick up their new Elba 45. But they're going to give us a talk because many of you may have already seen before their fantastic Let's Dance YouTube channel. Now, just before we cross to Nod, the other thing I would like to do is just acknowledge a few people who've joined us today. First of all, Gordon and Louise Coates, who own the Elba 45 that we're about to show you. And they, quite incredibly, just crossed the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. I'm just clicking there. So back in November, they left Saint-Tropez, sailed down through the Straits of Gibraltar, across through the Canaries, across into the Caribbean, where they then parked the boat for a little while and flew back to Australia for Christmas. And then they flew back in February, just after Christmas, moved the boat down through the Panama Canal, and then on the 28th of February, they left Panama and cruised virtually non-stop to the Gold Coast where the boat's lying now, with a 2-night stopover in Papeete. The COVID-19 impact meant that they weren't able to do the slow, enjoyable cruise that they were planning. They had to basically sail straight through non-stop. So very exciting to be able to have them with us today. The other acknowledgement I'd like to make is we've got a number of our clients, or what we call owners in waiting, the class of 2020. We've got a few of them joining us today, people who are patiently waiting to head to La Rochelle when the travel restrictions permit to pick up their boats. But it's really nice to have those people join us who have already made the purchase decision and are excitedly waiting to be able to climb aboard their own Elba 45s. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the screen share, and you'll see Nod is standing there. Nod's wife Rachel is the camera lady today, so blame her if there's any shakiness. But I'm going to hand over now to Nod. I'll also stop my camera, and we'll let Nod head off on a tour of the Elba 45.
Thank you very much, Greg. Good afternoon, everybody. First, before we start, a big thank you personally for myself, Gordon and Lou, for letting us use the boat this afternoon. Thanks very much, guys. As Greg said, the purpose of this afternoon is for me to give you a walkthrough tour of the Elba 45. As we go through each area of the boat, I'll point out the key features, or the changes, or the evolutions in this brand new model, or the newest model in our sailboat range. If I miss any points, I'm sure Greg will bring those up to make sure we touch on everything. And of course, please feel free to send in any questions. If we do move through that area of the boat and your question is relevant, at the end in the question and answers, we may do a tour back through and try to answer as much as we can. Okay, so without further ado, welcome aboard, guys. So in the absence of boat shows this year, or in the near future, this is probably the best we can do in showing you the newest boat in our sail range. Hopefully the camera depicts or shows just the size of this living area in the new boat. We'll start off with the cockpit, which obviously flies through into the open plan saloon, but as with the previous 44, the Helio, that had a very big, large cockpit area, but it's astounding how big this area is. We've got similar size central table, cockpit table with seating all around. The aft seating area is large on this boat, but over on the starboard side, we have this extra chaise affair or day seat, which is very, very big. Just when we thought we couldn't get any more seating into a cockpit, of course, over on the port side there.
Sorry to interrupt, Nod. Can you hear me there, mate?
Yes, mate.
Just a note for Rachel, we've got a fair bit of wind interference. Can we reposition Rachel out of the wind? Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
Normally when we do video, guys, we do a few
Yes.
takes. So this is our first attempt at actually doing this live. So there's probably hiccups as we flow through this. And it's a bit odd being at a boat show with no people. So yeah, just work with me, okay? Okay, so as we said, really large cockpit area. This is partly possible because, and I'll show you later just how big the roof is on this boat. So we've got a very large covered area, which will accommodate the upstairs seating area, which we'll get on to show you. As I was just saying, we've got this outboard day bed as part of the cockpit now. In the previous models, this wasn't possible because the deck hatches for the aft cabins were situated here. What FB's done now is move these deck hatches outboard onto the walkways. What that does is that gives better airflow through the boat. Previously, the hatches were inboard, and if you had the clears up or whatever, you could open them, and it was great if there was rain or bad weather because it meant you didn't get water down, obviously, into an open hatch and into your cabin. But
sorry, Nod, I need to interrupt once more. I'm being told by a few people that I'm apparently still in the screen, so you're not full screen. So can you just pause for a moment and I'll try to rectify that. Okay, so can someone tell me if someone could type into the question and answer, just inform me if that is now fixed? Excellent, it's all fixed now. Thank you, folks. Now you can carry on. Sorry about that, Nod.
We are. Okay. As I said, deck hatches have moved outboard. We've got better airflow down through the aft cabins because of that change. Finally, as well, with the day bed over here on this side, the French have listened to us. We've finally got cup holders fitted to boats as well, which is a new change. It's taken us a while to get that one across the line. As per all the other models in the range, the cockpit can accommodate the cockpit fridge. Since the Sayona, most of you are probably aware that we now actually have a specific cockpit galley area rather than having bolt-on barbecues which used to be on the rails with no servery or anything. You now can accommodate this as an option, the outside cockpit galley area. If you don't option this, the transom seating goes right the way across the back of the boat. Okay, this boat doesn't actually have it fitted, but of course, as with all the models, we can fully enclose this cockpit, which means, as I'll show you when we get up to the helm, we can have clears fitted with zip-in doors. And this just makes the living accommodation huge. If you can get some idea, all of this enclosed, this becomes your permanent dining, whatever the weather, and then the flow through into the saloon with all these doors kept open at all times. It really is a very, very large living space. Underneath all of these seats, we've got storage. And again, compared to the previous model of Helia, they've got bigger. So underneath here, large lockers. We've got lockers underneath here. Coming further forward, this is the gas locker underneath this seat here. And under the aft seat, we have large storage in there. Coming towards the back of the boat, and I guess while we're still in the cockpit, we can have a quick look at the engine rooms. So standard 50 horsepower on this with an option to upgrade to the 60 horsepower. This particular boat has larger engines. But just to give you a bit of an overview while we're going past the engine bays, a huge amount of space for doing maintenance to the engines, around the engines. Plenty of space to accommodate the house banks, which we have on the inboard side there. Standard is 4 150 batteries with an option to upgrade to 5 150 amp. Have you got those, Rach?
Do you mind just stepping to where Nod is, please, Rachel, so you can tip? Excellent, fantastic.
There we go. So as you can see, plenty of room to get in there. There's a steering up there. There's the autopilot at the top of the shop there. All your main battery switching for the house bank and engine cranking batteries are up on the wall of this one. And your inverter charger is there on the forward bulkhead.
So if you've got any questions about engineering or engine room space, folks, now's the time to type that question.
And while you're putting your questions together, we of course come back to one of the main features, which is drawing people to these boats, is your transom lifting platform. So if not optioned, the boat comes with standard davits, which I think we're all accustomed to. If you decide to take this option, you get the transom lifting platform, which runs across the back of the boat. Many positives to this. It submerges probably about 600-700 millimeters below water. It allows you to float your dinghy on, lift the dinghy up, and this is where it's stored secure, clear of the tunnel. It comes nicely above the tunnel in the boat, so there's no water catching it on the way through.
What size dinghy? What size dinghy have you got there, Nod?
I think we've got a 3.4 here, Greg. Yes, we do. We have a 3.4 high-field high-pull on there. As you can see, 3.4 meters is comfortably accommodated on this boat. You could probably stretch up to about a 3.6, 3.7, which would be the biggest. But yeah, this is kind of the package that we recommend. Gordon and Louise have optioned this, but standard with 20 horsepower with this size dinghy, it's perfect. Generally, ex-factory tends to option the high field. They're a well-made dinghy, high pull on, so they last very well. And on price point, they have the flat floor in them. So this is kind of what we'd recommend in someone going forward with a boat like this. This would be the dinghy and outboard package.
Now, while you're there, Nod, we do have some questions about the. Well, first of all, just while you're on the platform, David's asked, is the platform electric or hydraulic?
On this one, I think this is electric hydraulic. On the small, it's a good question, David, because on the smaller models on the Lucia, it's twin electric motors and just on screws. On the Sand, the 47, when we go up to that, it's electro hydraulic on that one. This particular boat, just stand by 1 second. See, you're not supposed to throw me curvy questions. Perhaps we've got Gordon can fire the answer to that one in.
Okay, so we've got a couple of questions for Gordon. But before we go there, in the engine rooms, because I think this is also a good one for Gordon and Louise to type an answer to if they're there and listening. What was your cruising speed under power? And what was your fuel usage at cruising speed? And what did you find was a safe range? So I hate to burden you, Gordon and Louise, but if you could type in an answer on that, that'd be really good, because it'd be great to get it from you as you've been out there cruising across the ocean. And then what level of maintenance needs to be done on that platform?
I mean, longevity of the platform, we've only been having these on our boats since probably the last 2 years. I really to date haven't had any issues with them in as much as the mechanics of them. So I have, you know, it's another one of those pieces of equipment, like I certainly know with the smaller models where they're quite sealed units, and until such time that you sort of have a failure. I think with the screws in them, you could extend them to telescopic struts and put some lubricant into those, but they're reasonably submerged in salt water sort of a unit. So I think until such time that you need to do some maintenance or repairs, that you're limited to what you could do.
And the platform's electric, by the way. There
we go, so we got electric. So when you go up to the 47, they're electric to a little hydraulic unit. So this is the same as the Lucia 40 and the Astrea below it. Oh, sorry, just the Astrea, the Lucia just has davits. There's a kind of a 50-50 really with the option of the platform in the orders that we've got for this year. It's a reasonably costly option. Obviously puts the total purchase price of the boat up there. For the people who enjoy sports such as diving, being able to sit on a platform and be lowered into the water with your tanks on. I mean, we've all tried to climb ladders with tanks on and fins on and getting out of the water, and it's not that easy, but the platform certainly makes sports like that a lot easier. We've got a lot of people who have got passion in kiteboarding and that sort of sport, and just to be able to launch off the back of the boat on the platform, it's kind of their go-to is the reason why they're one of the major reasons they're picking the boat. For your blue water cruisers, some people are still happy to go with the davits off the back of the boat. And yeah, there is, you know, in just ordering the standard boat, there is a reasonable saving there in doing that. So kind of 50-50.
Very good, thank you. We've got no other outstanding questions at the moment, so you can carry on at will.
Oh, lovely. Well, we'll come on forward through the cockpit. In transiting from the cockpit through to the saloon, this configuration of Fountaine Pajot started in 2012 with the Helia, and it's continued on through because it seems to be a winning format for us. Basically, you've got this open plan cockpit with the larger opening windows now on this model. It makes it even more open plan coming through into the saloon area. And what I'm talking about is this 3-stage communication. What's been a winner on the model is that someone in the galley area or in the saloon, it's open plan to communicating with people out in the cockpit, and then through to the helm station. So if Rachel swings the camera, you can see that whether you're at the helm underway, especially if it's the 2 of you on board, just cruising as a couple, it's very easy. Rachel is where I was a second ago in communicating. So this is kind of the format that FP have had since the Helia, and it continues all the way through the range from the 40 foot up to the 50. As we come through the cockpit, on the starboard side we have a cockpit fridge and storage for if you option it, the life raft there. People seem to think, or a lot of dieharders who have float off life rafts fitted to their monohull, question as to whether you'd have the life raft stowed underneath the steps. It's very easy to access. It's just hinged here. So without showing you, people always think that it's kind of trapped there, but it's really very quick to release and get the raft out. Okay, so into the saloon, or moving through to the saloon. Very excited to show you this. This is the new colour scheme and the new look for the interior of the Fountaine Pajot range. If you've been following us, or you've probably seen some similar videos on this before, but we've moved to the rounded edges bench tops. So new look on the Corian bench tops fitted here. We've got a whole new colour scheme. They've redesigned the cushions. A lot of people didn't like the previous model of puffier cushions. We've gone to the squarer look cushions throughout the saloon. New look veneers on the cabinetry. The floors a new colour, and it's a very light and airy feel. It's quite surprising when we go to France and we hand over a few of the same model. Gordon and Lou would be used to this, is just by having this blank canvas, by adding a bit of colour, like all the ladies pick their own colour or theme to the boat, it's very easy to personalise it. as I touched on, Greg and I were talking before we started this, colour changes are available. Not in so much as the bench tops, the floor or the veneer, but you can option different colours on the materials. And if you'd option the curtains, you can option colour changes in there, just basically on the upholstery. That's right, isn't it, Greg?
Yeah, that's correct. So you've got they have a lovely big brochure called the Millicene, which makes you think there's lots and lots of variation. But as you say, it's mostly just the cushion covers and the headliners and so on. But a lot of it is standard.
Yeah. So the other major change, the evolution in our newest boat is the absence of the navigation station. Up until last April, when I first saw the Elba, I wasn't that sure whether or not some dieharders would still need a nav station on board, but hopefully again the picture or the camera picks up on just how much room is in this living area in this boat. And everybody that comes on board the Elba, we got shown the drawings first of the saloon seating area, and then this over on the port side, this extra chaise, which is in the place where previously there'd been a navigation station on all the other models. It really is big. I'm going to give you a little demonstration. It's just, when you're living on board this boat, and most of the time you are going to be at anchor and living on board, just for the two of you, previously on all boats, you know, there was some sacrifice really with saloon seating. But this is, I'm not going to put my feet on Gordon's upholstery, but just to give you some idea of the size of this couch area, with two chaises on either side, I think we can get rid of nav stations. That doesn't mean
and while you're sitting there, Nod, that's a really good feature of the Elba 45 and Fountaine Pajot in general. The fact that from where you're seated, you can turn your head and you can see out of those windows.
Yeah, that's a good one to point out as well, Greg. And certainly for some of you who are starting to shop or look around at different catamarans and which one to buy, it's very important that you do actually sit in the spots where you're going to be spending an awful lot of time and actually have a look around you. As Greg said, with this seating and the height of the seating is, even while sitting, I can see all the way through all of these saloon windows, and almost a complete 360. If Rachel can come in, so I come into the middle of the saloon, put the camera at like my head height, and there you go, back there, a bit higher, and then just do a swing and show out the back. So from where I'm sitting, apart from that helm area or nav station area, we can see all the way out the back. And that's what you want to be seeing when we're going to be anchored off, whether it be in Fiji, Newcastle, somewhere in the Mediterranean. Anytime you can sit and see the view all around you.
And that's not the case on every brand of catamaran, is it?
That's exactly right, Greg. So that's what we were just saying, is that in doing your research, these are kind of, you know, in going and seeing a boat and walking around it, sometimes you might fleet past that point, and then obviously go down the track and find out later that maybe that isn't a feature of the boat that you've purchased.
And it's also another one of those, Not, is where the mast-based pole is, the compression post.
Just before we veer off, I wasn't going to let nav station go. So the advantage of our nav station gone is that we do have this much larger saloon seating area. It also allows the galley, which previously had been kept at the back of the saloon area, coming around the corner, maybe into a horseshoe configuration. The galley now extends from coming in here all the way to the front of the saloon where Rachel currently is with the camera. So I can pan around there. So the mindset of no nav station is we've still got connectivity here. If you wanted to have a tablet or the Garmin, we can Bluetooth to the Garmin. So if you wanted to sit here, have a tablet, be able to see what's on your plotter, it's all transferable. So as with anything, we're all working off tablets now. So there's a little station there for stowing that. And your navigation station has now moved to over here. So as in all the options, you've got the options of Garmin Pack 1, 2 and 3, which basically depicts what size plotters you get here. VHF's on here as well. You can get extra multifunction displays if you want to, but it's all actually relayed to the one plotter if you wanted to put it on that. You've got connectivity as well from here on HDMI to the TV screen. So if you wanted to run a separate navigation program on a laptop or something like that, you can plug it in and relay it to this screen. So this is where it's moved to. Okay. So what Greg touched on then, and as probably the last 3 boats in the range, when they've released them, we now don't have masts that are stepped on the deck. Previously, Helia, when you came in here, the saloon windows came to about here, stopped, and then we had the fiberglass which came around the mast step, which was deck step. Now they're coach house roof stepped, and we have a compression post here. So in this view, or the 360 view we were looking at, now we've got a much smaller obstruction which supports the mast above it, and with our new feature, we have the big opening front window on the boat. Can everyone see that all right on the camera?
We can feel the breeze.
Oh, is that cool, Greg? So this one, and it really is a very substantial window. Like you hear, it's got a lot of weight to it. A lot of people question, you know, front opening windows and its seaworthiness, but it dogs down hard, and it's a substantial piece of engineering, both in the frame and the actual frame of the opening window. I'm confident in that, but that then allows us to have communication to it, and we'll get to it, is you have an option of 4-deck seating on this boat. So, yeah, it's a ticker box, but if you're really not that keen on some of the people you're long distance cruising with, you can pop them out the front there, and if you feel like talking to them, you can open the hatch and pop it open. While I'm in the saloon, we'll just go through a few other features. It's been a feature of Fountaine Pajot for some time that we've got extra storage, as well as the cupboards in the galley. We've also got underfloor storage, which is primarily used, and I think Mrs. Coates did the same. You normally keep your dry stores under here. These are the kind of, there we go. We've got a bit of muesli for Gordo, got some chips. There we go.
Looking for contraband.
Yeah. They took that with them at Southport. Yeah. There we go, perfect example. Thank you, Lou. So this is kind of the stores that you only access every few days to replenish your cupboards. But in the other models, we'd have 2 or 3 of these. As you can see, we've got 5 underfloor storage areas there. So a massive amount of additional storage that when you first walk in, you don't realise it's there. Into the saloon, into the galley area. More cupboards, yet more cupboards. We've managed to make it bigger than the previous boats. Huge storage, and as we're coming to the front of the boat, it comes all the way through. Drawers with cupboards below, and finally FP have realised that we do need storage for just things like your sauces, your oils, and behind the countertop there, or bench top, we've actually got massive storage for your day-to-day goods, and a couple of more additional drawer fitted over here. So what you're looking at here is a reasonably standard configuration of the boat. Like we talked, the veneers are this colour, the floors this colour. A bit of an overview of options. As standard, when you order the standard boat, this fridge here, the 2-drawer fridge, comes as standard with the boat. Every boat gets that, with an option then to add an additional second fridge or 90-litre freezer here. If you don't option that, this is just a standard cupboard. And then third refrigeration is out there in the cockpit with an optional cockpit fridge. You got that, Rach?
Yep. And Greg's got a couple of questions for you.
Yes. So while you're standing there in the galley, a couple of questions. One is that Peter has again asked. He says the stovetop appears to have no edging. Is the boat that stable in all weather?
Yes. Not all weather, Pete, but yeah, in what you'd call standard cruising weather is, and we all go up and down the coast here, is, I think Gordon will back me up, is 90% of the time you would go up and down this coast with that kettle sitting there. There's obviously going to be that weather, Pete, when we might think about stowing the kettle. It's well spotted though. In some of the older boats and our previous models, we did have little fiddles fitted. What's actually happened with the boats, or the evolution of the boats recently, is that we've started using standard appliances. So with this cooktop, it has a separate inverter, and it runs like a 240-volt clicker system because it's actually a household appliance. Same with the oven over here. The old Marinas stoves and ovens, you know, the old Eno ones that were fitted here certainly were a bit smaller. So people are wanting to start to have that kind of standard appliance, because what we're looking at really is your new home. So with these appliances, like you can see with the burners, it's a much better machine, but it doesn't, as with Marinas stoves, come with the fittings of fiddles and things to hold your pot. Of course, if you really wanted to move ahead and have that fitted, it would be something that we'd fit ex-factory. We'd get some stainless guys in and fit as necessary. But no, it's not part of the standard spec. Okay. Have you got any more questions, Greg?
Are you there, Greg?
Hello?
No, it appears Greg has just cut out. So if you could just keep going through the
Okay,
boat.
well,
I'm back. I just had to quickly ask a colleague a question. So yes, so we.
Did you go to the toilet?
Gordon and Louise love the front window. That's very good, Gordon and Louise. And they also say that the boat is very stable. And and I have been talking to Gordon and Louise as they were crossing over the last few days. And they were saying even in the roughest of conditions, the living space was very manageable. And then there's been a lot of discussion. This is a question from John on Facebook about building a temporary table across the entrance to the cabins. Keen to hear Gordon and Louise after the travels if this is a good idea or not. And that's that void there beside you, Nod, where as you walk down the stairs, because that companionway staircase basically takes away or cuts through the bench space, there's been talk about people wanting to put a temporary fill there, but I'm sure that's possible.
If you have a look on our website under top tips, there's a client that's done that already.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's pictures and everything. I think actually, was it Michael and Marita Life?
So we've got, yes. Well mentioned. So Michael and Marita's first boat was the Lucia 40. The Lucia 40 being the smallest boat in the range, one of it's you know, you've got to lose something in optioning a smaller boat than this one. One of it was limited on galley bench space, especially if you just had the standard coffee table. I've looked at this since I've been on it. You could do the infill, but I think what you need to get your head around is just how much bench space you have, irrespective of doing that. Like this is a reasonably large galley area with a huge amount of bench space over here. So it's not quite as limited, but as with Michael and Marita and some of the other Lucias, we made a drop-in fill-in in the bench top, so you just have that extra little space, whether it have a chopping board on it or whatever. Coming down the companionway steps into this hull, and just looking at that question or answering that question, as you come down, to give you extra space downstairs, it's reasonably steep down into the stairs, and just headroom coming down into it. With the Lucia, because you went down into the companionway, you could almost have that servery and then still come down underneath it. But yeah, I don't know whether or not. I would certainly try the boat first before going down the road, because you've got a lot of space.
And that's the standard gas oven there, isn't it, Nod? And then if we want a microwave, where is the microwave located?
Here. There we go. And then we've got the option, the dishwasher fits under the sink as well. But that's a standard microwave, or optional microwave. Sorry, Greg.
That was a question from Stephen. From Jeff.
And we just touched on briefly there, in some of the smaller models as well, it was good to option the dining table in the saloon, because that gave you extra space for a servery. Again, in this 45, I think the galley's suitable. You wouldn't need that. But while we're touching on options, if you don't do anything, you get this coffee table fitted to the boat. I personally like it. I really like the walk around of this seating area, especially cockpit clears fitted outside. That table outside is 90% of the time is going to be your dining anyway. But just using this as a lounge area, the other advantage that you get is that you're not or just having the standard coffee table, you get a huge amount of storage. Can you see that, right? So it slides open, and another locker. Underneath the seating area in here, this is all storage underneath here. So the end of the chaise lifts up there. Huge amount of storage. Have I missed anything in the saloon, Greg, or is that reasonably?
Yeah. So we've got a question from Stephen. Have you had any of the current owners who are in waiting purchase the option of the multifunction table, Nod?
I haven't seen it. In fact, hull 3 was supposed to have it fitted as an extra, but I think in the early hulls they hadn't got to the point of designing it. I've seen the multifunction table fitted to the Sayona 47. It's a reasonably expensive option, but if you do decide that you want to go down the path of having the option of coffee that then can open to a dining size and then also make up that, in this case, 4th extra bunk, you know, that's your way to go. But the answer is no, I haven't seen it on Elba. I've only seen it on the Sayona, and of course all of our MY, like our motor yacht range, they have electric multifunction as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's about a €4,000 option. So, but it is there. If you can't decide on that, there is the option.
Okay.
Obviously, decide to go to the dining table. Is that drops down and you've got an infill mattress, and we'll look at the size of it. There's a substantially sized 4th bunk for any extra guests staying. Okay. Okay.
So listen, we've charged on. We've got a fair bit of boat to go, so we might move on now into the cabins.
Okay.
And otherwise, we're going to have everyone here till dinner time.
How long have we been going?
About 30 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll hit this with a bit of pace.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come down to the port side. The port side of this boat is the owner's. Some of the other models, it was always on the starboard side. We'll start at the back and work our way forward. So what we've got is a queen size walk around bunk at the back. As you can see, plenty of room. There's plenty of headroom coming through here. Some of the smaller boats have got a fairly reasonably low bulkhead, but plenty of headroom coming through the cabin. And as you can see, if you can come back, Rach, just have a quick scout through there. Plenty of walk around room around this bunk. It's storage underneath.
It's so bright down there, isn't it, Nod?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, a couple of models ago with Sayona, we started with this. Previously, a small opening hatch behind the bunk just for ventilation, but now we've got this almost like skylight effect where, you know, up in the morning, and this is the other thing, is when we were just talking about vistas and views, when you sit up in this bunk, is you've got this big window out on the outboard side, the big window aft. It's comforting as well when you wake up in the middle of the night on anchor. You don't have to climb up on deck to see where you are anymore. You can just slide the curtain and have a look out the window. We've got big storage on the inboard side, which is just opened there. So big storage on all of these lockers above the bunk. On the inboard side, shelves on either side for your little bits and pieces. Coming forward, a second optional 32-inch screen, which swings out and as per the one in the saloon, swings out and across, so you can watch that in bed. Coming forward, we've got a desk, and it's hard to go past. It's amazing just how much room and storage. I think Gordon Lou will probably comment on this, but for an owner's cabin, previously like drawer space, I don't know what we've got in here, so I'll be cautious there, but you know, we've got a big row of drawers, here, hanging lockers up above there, desk with lifting lid, storage either side, and then these lockers up and above. More storage on the inboard side coming forward.
And can I interrupt, Nod?
Yes.
So just the amazing thing is this boat has sailed over the last 4 or 5 months all the way from France to Australia on its own bottom, including skirting around the edges of cyclones and so on. What impresses me is that every cupboard you open, all that, everything's still aligned. Nothing is sort of shifted in shape. Is that what you find?
I'm astounded with this boat, Greg, because this is hull 1, which, you know, got put together so we could all see it triumphantly launched at last year's dealer conference in April, and then it went to do the boat show circuit, and then, as you say, has pretty much been on the move since then. We couldn't believe in Southport 2 weeks ago when it arrived, just the condition of the boat. It was great. Like, it reflects really well for you know, the first build, and yeah, well, as you say, like, yeah, all the cupboards, everything works. It's yeah, really good clean boat. I'm going to let Rach come forward in this one. So coming forward into the bathroom, I think everyone is aware with the new models just how big the owners shower, and you know, there really is no compromising this as a functional bathroom for 2 people.
How tall are you, Nod?
How tall am I? I'm about 5'11".
Okay.
Where would you like me to go? There we go.
Yeah, just stand in that doorway, Nod. That we've got a couple of tall clients who are interested in headroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until you get to about 6'2", you're not going to even be ducking to come through into there. So with all of the boats, I mean, when you look for or look after this boat, you've got to realise that it's a very big open space. With previously in hull construction, there would have been a lot more solid bulkheads with doors in. This is very open plan, but we still do have to at some point put some structure into the boat to make sure it's secure. So yeah, that would be probably your lowest part of the whole boat.
Okay.
And then Rach, you just want to look forward into the head, the owner's head.
Doing well, Rach.
Thank you.
Very good. And underneath, sorry, just where would the washing machine be located on this boat if it was
starboard side? So we'll go over and find that in a second. So just when you've had enough of your guests for the day or your kids, you just slide this door across. And there you go. Look how much room the two of you have got. It's perfect.
Apparently that's that fishing rod that caught no fish.
They've got a fishing rod that caught no fish and a dinghy that never went anywhere either. Okay, so come on, we'll zip down and have a look at the starboard side. And first thing we'll look at is answering the washing machine question.
And is there? And I'll ask a question that I got from a client last night on a Zoom call. Yep. Is there any way of having a side-by-side washing machine and a separate dryer?
Not easily. No, what you'd probably do there is we would have to sacrifice a four-peak, I'd say, and have a second unit. That really is the only other void that would accommodate two machines. They do an option of a washing machine or a washer-dryer. A lot of people are hesitant about washer dryers, but the newer units actually do work well. I've had people who've actually spent the money and gone for the washer dryer have loved it. But coming in here, have a look. So we'll open that up. There we go. So there's, as you can see, we're not getting two units in. But yeah, household size machine. Again, we've gone away from the smaller little 3 kilo Marinas machines. This is actually a proper household washer. The other thing coming down into here, which is again opened up the boat, is in all previous models to this point, you'd come down the companionway and this washing machine would be in a corridor with the roofing closed. As you notice now, this is all open. So excellent. Plenty of light as you come down into this hull. And again, just communication all the way through, like I'm just seeing through the seating there in the saloon. A much more open plan. I might let Rachel come forward into the cabin.
And while Rachel's doing that, I'm not sure if we brushed over it earlier on. This has got the 9 kilowatt genset.
Yes, it has. That's right.
Yep.
So Cummins own genset, which we'll get to up in the forward lockers there. So just pointing out as we go into the forward berth on this boat is that we've actually almost got like a semi walk around, or we do. We've got a semi walk around bunk in a forward cabin on a 45-foot catamaran. That's significant. Like this is coming to the front of this boat very beamy. And as you can see, that front wall, like it, previously in V berths or coming into forward cabins, you'd use what we generally call the foot of the bed, which would be your pillow end because it tapers so far to the front of the boat, there's not much room. But you can see headboards at the top there, or at the forward end of the cabin, and almost identical size bunks to the aft cabins, which is amazing for a boat of this size.
They're very generous guest cabins, aren't they?
They are, and when you go forward of this as well, Greg, it's hard to see when we do have a quick look in a four-peak, but to give you some idea, and I don't know whether or not you can sort of see the size of this, it's the width of the boat at the head of the bed, like here. When this transfers forward into the four-peak, and it's hard to see it with the cameras, the four-peak is massive. Like you're looking at about like, what have we got there? 3.5, 4 feet across in the locker. At the back end of the four-peak, so massive storage going forward. Okay, Obviously all cabins with ensuite, so we'll have a quick skip through there, right? Do you want to do a commentary of that?
Yeah, so we've got the separate shower here. Very spacious. And then your head and basin there.
Very good.
Okay. Again, I'm just going to let you go in there. So,
yeah.
In the starboard aft, we've got the same size bunkers in the port side cabin, the walk around, storage underneath, and again, spacious ensuite.
Very, very nice. And I think it's fair to say this is why the Elba 45 has hit the market with such style, and there's been so much interest in the boat, is because every cabin has a proper, there's enough volume in this boat to have a separate shower and toilet in each head, in each room, and every one of those guest cabins have got great volume.
That's right, yeah. Coming forward, just before we head back up the companionway into the saloon, we just got a note that in our nav station from the starboard side, relocating, our switch panel has come down to here. So as you come down the starboard side stairs, there's a switch panel here. We've got genset control at the top, water maker controls, so we never need to go into the lockers to operate these. Inverter charger remote, which we saw earlier in that starboard engine bay, and then all your 12-volt switching below. A lot of people, and I've heard it like recently, people saying, oh, you know, the switch panel's relocated down into the companionway, but as you know, Greg, using the boats, most of the people like Michael and Marina and Gordon and Luke, you set what you need switched on. And it's very rare that in day-to-day using the boat, you have to touch the switchboard much. On the previous models that had the nav station anyway, the switch panel had moved from the dash of the nav station to basically halfway down the portside companionway stairs anyway.
Yes.
So other than moving from one side of the boat to the other, there's very little difference.
Very good. So we've got no other questions at the moment, Nod, so you can head outside, and we've got about 15 or 20 minutes to spare.
Okay. Moving up to the Helm Station. We've got a walkway through here with the Helm Station arc. Come on up, Rachel, have a bit of a look. So all of our instrumentation is fitted there at the helm. Apart from our portside Jenica sheeting, the whole boat can be controlled from here. That's been claimed on all models previously, but even now more so. Previously you had to go forward to adjust things like topping lifts. You know, Jenica halyards weren't permanently run back, but now with the Elba, we've got more clutches and literally everything is run back to this station.
And they're spread out, those winches.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So standard with the boat and the standard inventory is this outboard winch here is electric for hoisting your main. Basically everything else you get used to running everything to that, with the option of a second of the three, this middle one here being electric as well. There we go. So that's one of your Genoa sheet winch, main halyard winch electric, and then your third winch, which you might use most of the time for your main sheet and traveller. This all runs below deck, so all your lines are concealed underneath the deck, running all the way to the back of the boat. And when it's the two of you on board, this is actually quite a good setup, because sitting back here, whoever's helming can obviously look up through here, through the bimini. There's a big zip out here to be able to see the main. There's also a very big window in the bimini, so whoever's forward working the sheets can see up nicely, see the main. And as you say, these winches are nicely set apart. They're very easy to use for the couple. So one of you is forward here, one sitting aft at the helm. Optional, we stood here as we talked about the cockpit tent, which enclosed the back of the boat downstairs. Anyone picking up, we recommend they get the bimini, which is the framework and the canvas roof above me, and then the option of enclosing this. As you can see, once this is zipped up, this door's closed, the roof's closed, the inboard side is zipped. Basically from here all the way down into the cockpit with the enclosed cockpit tent, you're just completely weatherproof.
So can you just sit? Can you sit at the helm station quickly, Nod, and let Rachel just video you to show the ergonomics of that helm station seating area? Yeah. So you've got the drink holder at last, Nod.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So Gordon would have loved this on the way across. Pop his cup of tea in there. We've finally got a drinks holder. It's a definite step forward. And then as we move up to the seating area on the top, obviously we've got more drinks holders. I can't believe it. We've got another 3 coming up here. This flows up to, and I guess we should move on to this. What I was talking about earlier is that downstairs in that cockpit, we've got a lot of covered area, like a huge amount of protected weatherproof area with the cockpit tent in place. That's basically been made bigger on this boat because when we come up onto the roof, you'll see it now, just the sun lounge area and seating up on top of the coach house roof is huge on this boat. Even the bigger model, the Cyan 47, has got absolutely nothing on the amount of room in the Saba 50. So this really, apart from the modifications in the saloon, which we've gone through, is really the knockout feature of this boat.
Just before you go up there, Rachel, the windage is quite bad on the microphone, so if you could try to keep the camera close to your chest or your stomach or whatever, just to try and protect it from the wind.
Yeah, no worries.
So what we might do is, if there's a bit of windage, Rach might just come up and do a quick tour of it, but I'll drape myself on the lounger to give you some size and but just have a quick.
And Gordon and Louise have just announced on the question and answer, they said they just love the Stardust Lounge.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Oh, Nod.
We really can comfortably. I mean, we could have 8 or 10 of us sitting up here. A lot of die-hard sailors look at these boats and think, why would you need seating areas up on the roof? But when I spoke to Phil and Gordon and Lou, coming across the Pacific on those clear nights, they'd finish at 5, have their sundowners up here, and I've done deliveries up the coast when the weather is beautiful. Rather than sitting at the helm, you can lie up here on the sun lounger with the autopilot remote, and it really is very well used. While we're up here as well, we've got an additional big deck hatch. There's been smaller ones on previous boats, but we've got a big deck hatch which opens here, which then allows its front opening, air to be drawn down into the cockpit, so you get even more airflow through that area below. Right then.
Mm-hmm.
Solar installation, standard from the factory, or if you're going to go cruising, we'd probably option a bigger installation. As most of you have looked at this would know, we've got a lot of variations, but behind the Traveller there on that hard top roof is a big flat area. That's where the solar install is.
Actually, a lot of people are interested in that, Rach. Do you mind just popping up and having a look at that from up top?
Sure.
It's always talked about solar.
Completely out of the way.
So the standard solar wattage out of the factory, Nod, I believe, is 400, but you in the same space can do a post-factory option fitting into the same area of about 800. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, even bigger. It depends on aesthetics, really. Greg. So previously, before this seating area on the roof, we had some hardtop on the port side where we could put additional panels. It's reasonably limited because of the roof area. So we've got the area behind the Traveller, which is standard, has got 400. As you can see, that doesn't come right to the outboard edge or the aft edge. So we can actually comfortably double that without the aesthetics of the boat being sacrificed. But in going off there, if you don't mind some extra supports, is, you know, we've done 2,000 watt like installations on the roof for those die-hard cruisers that, you know, aren't going into marinas, that just want to be able to sit on anchor the whole time without running the generator. It's possible.
Excuse me. And Nod, just a question that we've got there from Ian, just about those cushions up top there, about their ability to stand up to the weather. Obviously, they've all got clips on them, But I'm sure Gordon and Louise, if they thought that there was bad weather coming, they would have then brought them down below and put them in the hallway or in one of the lockers or so on, yeah?
They won't blow away, but as with anything, you know, they are made out of sunbrella, so they're UV proof. They're made of the same similar material to these clears. So you've got years of longevity with the cushions. Like I know there's an Astrid park down here where Paul and Trina love to leave those out all the time, whatever the weather. Yeah, it's a bit like the question with when do you take the kettle off the stove, is if you were just seriously sailing into some weather, you know, just good seamanship, it would be diligent to probably pull your cushions in. But they do clip down, they're in tracks. So bolt right into traps, that's a solid clip. So day to day, as I say, day to day cruising, you'd leave them out.
Okay, and while you're walking up the front, I'll just answer a question from Peter there about the Bimini hardtop option. It is often being talked about, as you've probably seen on the Elba 45 forums. There are solutions. At the moment, there isn't a solution directly from the factory, but they continue to tell us that they're about to have a hardtop option.
So sorry, just jumping in there, Greg. So as with some other catamaran manufacturers, as standard, they will actually put a hardtop bimini on. So if you're comparing it to other brands, a lot of people would like a fiberglass hardtop bimini. There are contractor companies that do manufacture for the FP range. There's a couple around the planet, but most people know Dedicated Marine in the States. You can buy one direct from them and have it sent to FP, or not to FP, but to our contractors in La Rochelle for your commissioning. And I did 2 last year for people that really wanted to go down that road. You do have to, once installed, obviously then get custom fitted clears manufactured. So there's a bit of time delay in getting it fitted. But yeah, for those people who would like fiberglass hardtop bimini, yes, it can be done.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, when we come onto the foredeck of this boat, we've got more seats, more cushion. And these ones are with the hinge back, so we can drop them down to make it one big day bed. Or if we all want to sit out the front here, again having sundowners, the backs can all raise up and we can use it as a seating area. This is optional. So with the option of the outdoor cushions, which obviously you're going to have to go for with the cockpit, we are seating the helm station and the roof. Is this option of the foredeck seating? Not everybody wants it. It's part of the options list. Underneath this seating, again, huge amount of storage. In the starboard locker, we have the anchor locker. The Elba has a very long fall into the chain locker, comparable to catamarans. Previous catamarans, we had very shallow chain lockers, which meant when you were pulling up 50, 60 meters of chain, there was a lot of stowing the chain. Whereas we've easily got, I would say, close to a meter of fall there to the bottom of the chain locker. As you can see at the back of the locker, I don't know if you can, but the water tanks are stored at the back of the locker. So with the more recent models, what we've done is water tanks have always been up here, but we've moved the generator and water maker and some of the gear that was, if you optioned it in the engine bays in the transoms, it's all been moved forward. So it's centralized around the mast space, keep the weight in the boat centralized. It reduces things like hobby horsing, keeps the boat more stable. It stops it dragging its bum with extra weight in the engine bays. And so in this port side locker, we've now got what you'd call another machinery space. So that 9 kilowatt genset you were talking about earlier, Greg, lives in here. We've got the 12-volt water maker in front of that. You see the membranes there. And then on the inboard wall, we've got our fresh water pumps, which we've got 2 working in parallel here with a backup system. So in case of failure of one water pump, you can change the valves, flick over to pump 2 and keep on going.
So just pulling up on that space there, so that's the 12 volt, 60 litre per hour water maker, yes?
That's right, yep. So with the factory options, you've got 105 litre, 240 volt water maker. You've got 60 litre, 12 volt, and they've now released it's a 105 litre 12 volt option as well, which yes, you can do with contractors. So we can upgrade that 12 volt option if you were looking at doing that. The advantage is now with water makers is that when motoring, rather than having to run your genset to make water or make fresh water, while motoring, charging your batteries off your alternators. You can turn on the water maker really at any time. It's all controlled from that switch panel I showed you down in that starboard companionway. So really, there is no commissioning in these units other than flicking on the breaker here. There's dual controls, so you can control the unit from a control box down in here. But once it's up and running, apart from changing filters occasionally, you really never have to come in here.
Just while Nod's closing that locker, Rach, can you do a pan up the mast, please?
No worries.
This is the carbon mast, isn't it?
Yeah, so this has got the upgrade of the carbon mast on this boat in hull 1. And it's got the option of the hydronet sails. So in the pricing list, there's the standard cruise sails with an option to go into the hydronet, slightly more performance sails. But if anyone wants to know how well this boat sailed, we can get you in touch with Gordon and Lou. Or even if you look at the track of where they went, like their sea miles are fantastic crossing the Pacific. Like, and talking about earlier, I don't know, I mean, we'll wait for Gordon and Lou to answer, but really in boat speed, like I moved hull 3 down the coast a couple of weeks ago and comfortably under motor, like the boat sat on 8-9 knots under motor without really, the pitching on the props really doesn't allow you to over rev the boat, like you're certainly going nowhere near 3,000 RPM. So sitting at like 2.2, 2.3 on new boat with a clean bum, the boat will be doing 8 or 9 knots under motor. Coming further forward, optional, it's the bow sprit option we can see sticking off the front of the boat there. So this fiberglass unit, non-option, this is just for a single trampoline. We've got this here, and this allows us to hoist the Jenica, which again is an option from the factory, or you can spec your own sail. It runs on an endless furler. We haven't got it on at the moment, but standard 4-station furler with a head sail. We've just got that off being some touch-ups at the moment. We also fit blocks on the bow if you wanted to run either a spinnaker or a downwind sail.
I've got a couple of quick questions that just before you roll there. Any noise inside the cabin from the generator? I'll get Gordon Coates to just give me an answer on that from their trip. Just what sort of generator noise? And then your question there, Peter, about the main, is it on lazy jacks or furled? The main is on lazy jacks.
Yep. So at the moment, sorry, again with the sails, after it's doing its Pacific crossing all the way back from Europe, we've got sails off being fixed repairs, so the lazy jacks aren't set as best as possible at the moment, and we've got a head sail off the boat.
Okay.
Just coming across, and it's really hard. I mean, there's very little point in trying to get it with the camera, but that's what I was trying to show you before, was by showing you that bulkhead in the forward cabin, the jets here. Just how much room we've got in this forepeak. So, as you can see, the size of this hatch here is really, if you can just imagine, like the forepeak is as wide as the boat here. It's a huge amount of space, and there's an option to fit an additional cabin. So either for crew or an extra person, you can have 4 peak fit outs on the boat. You can also have an option of fitting out a toilet in one of the 4 peak on this boat. So sometimes for crude boats in Asia or charter boats, that's a ticker box option. Or if you've got a very large family, you might want to consider that.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to answer a couple more questions while you're walking back, Nod. If Rach could just mute for a minute, because there's a lot of wind noise. So about the engines, using 2 engines, it's about 7 litres an hour, cruising at 7.5 to 8 knots at about 1800 revs per minute. With fuel on board standard is 470 litres. Gordon just said he motored on 1 engine from Gibraltar to the Canary Islands over 600 nautical miles over 4 days using 350 litres. Gordon also just typed in and said that the generator noise is minimal in the cabin. It's been well insulated. And the boat in general feels so solid and well sealed from outside noise. Also, he did relay a message to me the other night how they were in a storm, and those that were down below didn't know there was a storm until they came out of their cabins. So yeah, so that's that. So back to you, Rachel and Nod. And I have one other question, Nod. Could you please shut the doors? Someone has asked a question, how does it look once the doors are closed? And you're muted at the moment, Rachel.
Thank you.
So very little change really. So these are all glass sections. Previously these have been single doors, but we've got the double slider there. There we go. It's got me, Bola.
There you go.
There we go.
So that's a half opener too. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we were talking about earlier, you've got options in the curtains in the cabins. We're halfway through installing them on here, but for privacy in Europe, it's not a bad option. You've got the fold down blind here, big sliding curtain on this track, which we're fitting here, and then full opening curtains all the way around the saloon.
So what I'll just do now is just announce to everyone, we're going to stop this webinar in probably about 5 minutes. So if you have any other questions, or if there's any specific area of the boat you'd like Nod to re-show you, just type your message in now, and we'll have a couple of minutes of just asking Nod some questions. And can fly screens be put in is a question. The boat, the hatches actually come standard with fly screens, don't they?
That's right. We'll do a quick tear around. So quick zoom down here, right? So a lot of people are used to fly screens on previous boats. There used to be little pop-in sections that fitted in when you just open the hatch up. These all deck hatches throughout the boat, not the ones in the bathrooms. Have the option of sliding across as a screen for night time and magnetically lock, or if you slide them in the opposite direction. There we go. It's a fly screen.
Fantastic. So rattle up those questions, folks. If you've got any more questions or parts of the yacht you'd like to see, just let us know now. And Nod's going to relocate to the cockpit to answer some final questions.
Wind.
So, okay, a couple of questions coming through, Nod. Is there any chance of a main door fly screen?
Yeah, it's a hard one. We've had that question a lot. We've tried to make one that almost an roll-on one that has magnetic strip that you can just pop in, but the amount of time you're transiting in and out through that cabin door, I think it would be a bit of a noise. I've never successfully made one that opens like a door, but yeah, the only thing I've ever done in the past is I guess, if you wanted to operate a boat in somewhere that is, high area of mosquitoes, if you somewhere in the sandy straits or something like that, at night time, if you wanted to leave the doors open and fit the screens, which we do with magnetic strip, that's really the only solution I've got for the big opening door.
And as a final one, Nod, while you're there, could you maybe, or Rachel, go for a walk down onto the dock and just along the side of the boat and show the underwater profile of the boat?
Sure.
Thank you. No rush. I've got your question there, Will. We'll ask that in a moment.
Would you like me to go down the side?
You're right. Just keep walking up there a few feet and just glance down the side of the boat. That's really impressive. It just shows how cleverly Fountaine Pajot have advanced the design of these boats, the management of the volume, the access points, and just that camber or that shear line on the deck top there is it's really impressive. Okay, we've got one or two more questions, Rach, to go back to Nod with, and then we'll let you guys have a drink of water.
So hopefully you can hear me in the wind, but just while we're looking down the side of the boat, we've got a walkway down this side. But it's a good comparison. We're alongside a similar size older model boat. Just to give you some idea of the volume of these new boats, as we start to look at this freeboard on this boat, we're talking about a 45-foot sailing catamaran. This this is the height of the cleats.
Yeah.
To give you some idea of just when you're downstairs in this boat, how much room we've got downstairs comparable to same size boat. There you go. So that gives
It's
you
amazing.
a good comparison of volumes. And so when you're making those comparisons to galley space and things, and you're relating to boats previously, I'm trying to tell you that just with this extra volume we've got in this boat, there really are no compromises in most things.
But can you go back to the barbecue? Where's the barbecue mount? The barbecue mounting point.
Okay. So if you tick the option from the factory, we have the option of a plancher or a gas barbecue appliance here. So this raised section gets fitted. Gas gets run here from the gas locker, which is at the forward side of the cockpit there. And then this is the plancher option. It's just a plate. Or you can option the barbecue, which is what we're used to, more of a conventional hooded unit. Or if you have a specific, like if you're a man who loves his Weber or something like that, we can actually get the factory to just fit this module, and then you can fit your barbecue of choice.
Okay, very good. Nod, if you might want to head back in, I'm just going to end the full screen. I'm going to turn my video back on again, much to everyone's. There we go. That was fantastic. We also did have one other question about the electric engine options from Will. The factory Fountaine Pajot have been working with Volvo Penta now for over 2 years on an electric option. That's still in development stage, and they will be announcing progress on that. But I don't mean to make excuses, but it's probably been put on hold slightly by the current situation. But it is something that's certainly being investigated at the moment and worked on.
And it's the first time that actually Volvo Penta, as you know, the manufacturer, have come to the party in doing this hybrid combination of electric motors being run by a big genset. It's installed on a Lucid 40 at the moment. As we all know, in early Lagoon days, electric propulsion has been tried, and they really, want to test the boat hard for, get a year under its belt before we go into manufacture on this. Don't jump too early, but I think everyone's fairly confident that because it's Volvo Penta working alongside FP, that, hopefully soon something good will arise from that.
Okay, so Nod and Rachel, we'd like to thank you very, very much. I'm just going to share my screen again and go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Fantastic effort.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for spending your time this afternoon to come on board the Elba with myself and Rachel. Hopefully soon we'll get to show it to you in person, but I hope we managed to answer some of your questions, and you're as excited about it as we are. Thanks very much for emceeing there, Greg.
That's all right. I'm just going to quickly pop through. We've got the next webinars coming up. We talked about that at the start, and generally, yeah, we've and that's Michael. So everyone's now met Nod. There's just one other couple of things. The virtual marinas are there. Those of you who haven't yet been online and had a look on the Multihull Solutions website and click through to the virtual marinas, fantastic tool for viewing the boats whilst we're not allowed to go to boat shows. And Gordon and Louise, whose yacht Nod has just shown you, we've now got on the Multihull Solutions website. You've got now, and also on our YouTube channel, you can now go online and watch the first 3 of their voyage videos, and there's others to follow. So that's very good fun. And then, as I said, Michael and Marina in a couple of weeks, if anyone wants to in the meantime, really good fun. If you've got nothing to do, go and watch Let's Dance Sailing, go and click on their YouTube channel. And then also Multihull Solutions on our site, we also have the European Delivery video series, which is really good for those who are considering in the next year or two the idea of picking up a boat from La Rochelle. And again, Nod and Rachel will feature heavily in that series. So, so that's where we're at with that. So well done, folks, and we'll see you next Friday for webinar number 3. But for today, thank you, Nod, thank you, Rachel, thank you, Gordon, thank you, Louise. And if you've got any questions, email your sales representative or give us a call. At this point in time, while we're all not sort of running around to boat shows and everything, we're very happy to have chats on phones. So please do give us a call. I've just got a couple of other questions there, I think. No, basically they're people saying thank you. So we'll leave it at that. So we're going to
Thanks, everyone.
We're going to end this webinar now, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Nod. Thanks, Rachel.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.